The gold screamed. The gold cried. The gold bled. It was not metaphor. It was not rumor. It existed, and it whispered the names of the men who dared to pull it from the earth. By the year 1856, every trace of hurt, every record, every ledger, every echo was swallowed into silence. There were no photographs. There were no letters. Only whispers in the halls of abandoned churches, scribbled warnings in orphanage ledgers. Notes scorched by fire, ink running like blood. They said that anyone who dared speak her name felt the skin of their hands itch, the pulse of their hearts quicken, the earth beneath them tremble in recognition. And yet, all who saw her or claimed to rig on one truth. She was alone. She carried nothing, yet possessed everything. She arrived from Louisiana with a single trunk, a single resolve, and a single unspoken understanding of the land. She was a shadow moving among men, a silent observer of their greed, a quiet adjudicator of their sins. And the gold responded to her. It quivered. It spoke. It cried. It demanded. In the first week of her mining, men began to vanish. Men left their boots at the edge of shafts. Men left their names on ledger sheets, only to have them erased the next day. Not violently, not tragically. Simply gone. Swallowed by something unseen. By the earth itself, or by her. She was not a miner. She was a conduit. And the scream of the gold would be the last sound the town would ever recognize. Asterisk, they call her Eleanor. They call her Nell. Eleanor Baptiste. A name repeated in shadows, scratched on church ledgers, crossed out on census sheets, erased from history, whispered, only in fear. In schoolbooks, she does not exist. In plaques celebrating the gold rush, she does not appear. Yet she existed. She came from Louisiana, alone, free, untethered to husband, to family, to patronage. She arrived in San Francisco with nothing but a small trunk of clothes, a bundle of unlisted tools, and eyes that seemed to carry the weight of centuries. No one could tell how she paid for her passage. No one asked. Her silence demanded respect and fear. By 1855, she held 3 mining claims, employed 40 men, white men, respected men, men who would otherwise have denied her humanity, and yet obeyed her commands with the reverence reserved for priests or prophets. She had wealth beyond comprehension. She had gold refined, gold measured in veins, gold dark as sin, and yet no photograph survives. No portrait captures her face. Only ledger entries, meticulous, precise, obsessive, and then, suddenly, a blank, a void, records burned, memories disbelieved, names redacted. Some say she never existed. Some say she exists still, walking the empty corridors of the hills, waiting. Others whisper that she is older than the land she claimed, older than the rivers, older than the mountains themselves. She is both historian and heresy. She is the interruption in the narrative, the single black woman whose wealth dwarfed the men who hunted her, and whose story, if told, would unravel the carefully constructed myth of California. They erased her, but she remains. Asterisk, dead mother's cut. The name alone made men hesitate, made them spit on the ground, made them whisper prayers no priest had taught them. Miners avoided it. Miwok people abandoned it generations ago. It was a place that listened. The earth itself seemed to shift beneath the weight of intruders, murmuring, breathing, warning. And yet, Eleanor Baptiste Nell claimed it. She walked the ridge alone, her boots sinking into soil that seemed to recognize her, soil that seemed to welcome her, to whisper secrets of veins that ran darker than blood, deeper than bones. The gold here was different, darker, veined with something unnatural, something alive. When struck, it rang inharmoniously, like metal remembering pain. Church bells recast from it cracked. Tools in her hands felt heavier, warmer, almost conscious. She did not fear it. She knew it. She spoke its language in silence. Other men came, white miners, eager, greedy, certain of dominion. They left with nothing. The ravine rejected them. Their picks struck back. Their shovels grew heavy. Some claimed the rocks whispered their names. Some claimed the wind carried the voices of those who had disappeared decades before. Nell remained silent, serene, unbending. She was not a conqueror. She was chosen, and the land recognized her as one of its own. It would bend, but only to her. Every inch she mined sang within inevitability. Every vein of gold cried, every shadow whispered her name. Asterisk, within weeks of her operation, men began to vanish. Not violently, not dramatically, not with screams or pleas. They simply ceased to return. Boots abandoned at the shaft, pay envelopes untouched, ledger entries scratched, rewritten, ink flowing, as if corrected by unseen hands. They were men of flesh and greed, and they were swallowed by the earth, or by something she had called forth, or by the gold itself. No bodies were ever recovered. only whispers in the hills, only the low, unbroken hum of the ravine. The town tried to rationalize it. Perhaps they left for better claims, they said. Perhaps they went home. But every disappearance coincided with increased gold output. The gold knew. The gold responded. And Nell stood among the shafts.com, meticulous, her eyes reflecting the pulse of the earth. She never mourned. She never hesitated. She was not cruel. She was inevitability. And the miners, their families, the church, the town none could intervene. Letters were sent. Priests arrived. Deputies came with guns. Men returned, empty-handed or did not return at all. And yet, the gold kept rising. Every missing man, a testament. Every crossing out in the ledger, a ritual. The town began to murmur, quietly. At first, then louder. They said the land was listening. They said the veins of gold were alive. They said that if a man entered the pit with greed, he would be taken, but if he entered with respect, he might survive. None dared test the theory. Asterisk by 1851. The Church of St. Bartholomew, perched like a sentinel above Den Mother's Cut, sent emissaries to investigate. Gold appeared in the collection plates. Unmarked, unblessed. Melted down. It exuded the metallic stench of decay, a warm rot that made priests gag and tremble. Letters were dispatched east, describing a woman who did not kneel, who did not pray, who attended sermons but whose eyes seemed to carry sermons of their own, a woman who smiled when the Bible spoke of judgment, and whose laughter sounded like rolling stones. The bishops debated intervention. They feared scandal. They feared damnation. A reply arrived, sealed in black wax, unbroken, unreadable, and simply existed. The emissaries returned, hesitant, silent, and with unease in their bones. Local priests recorded observations in diaries hidden from the public. Nell Baptiste carried no weapon, no charm, no visible power. And yet, all who came into contact with her felt an ineffable pressure, a weight, a knowing. It was as though the earth itself bowed before her, as though the gold itself obeyed her will. She donated generously. She hired men, white men, obedient men, fearful men, but she did not seek favor. She did not plead. She did not explain. She only existed, and the consequences followed. The church recorded only what it dared, erased what it could not understand, and whispered to itself the warning. This woman is not of this world, and neither is the gold. Asterisk at the base of Dead Mother's Cut stood a small orphanage, hastily erected in 1850 after a wagon train massacre. Children came to it pale, trembling, clutching what little remained of their families, and soon discovered that the shadows, their whispered secrets, the adults refused to hear. After Nell's miners passed through the town, the children began to speak of singing underground, low and resonant, maternal, almost coaxing. Some claimed the ground trembled beneath their feet when no wind stirred. The matron dismissed it as imagination. Children vanished during rainstorms, slipping between the folds of shadow, and the orphanage found beds neatly made. Shoes aligned in careful pairs, yet the children never returned. Some said they walked with her. Others said they became part of the gold. The matron's journal recorded this in trembling script, but when the pages were reviewed decades later, ink had bled, letters faded, and sentences twisted into as though the earth itself consumed her words. Local townsfolk muttered that Nell carried the lullabies of the lost, and that the ravine was listening, demanded payment for every soul who entered its veins. The priests avoided the place. The miners crossed the street. And the children who survived spoke of a woman who smelled of iron, of old prayers, and of rivers that remembered chains. She walked among the miners, among the town, among the orphans, silent, watching, judging, and always, the earth sang. Always. The gold responded. Asterisk. By 1853, Eleanor Baptiste was untouchable. 40 men labored in her mines, white men who obeyed her as though she were priest, as though she carried authority granted by the earth itself. Judges dined at her table, sheriffs borrowed against her, accounts, and the church, though uneasy, accepted her donations without question. Her cabin was small, meticulously ordered, containing ledgers upon ledgers and one iron box, warm to the touch, its contents unknown. She drank nothing, gambled nothing, married no one. Her eyes carried the calm inevitability of time itself, the patience of mountain. Her hands touched the gold, veins dark as blood, and it bent to her will. Coins, nuggets, refined dustall, obeyed her rhythm, her silence, her intent. She never spoke unnecessarily. She never lingered in conversation. She moved like the wind. Over water, imperceptible but impossible to resist. Even the miners who feared her wealth did not speak of her openly, for her presence carried a weight beyond comprehension. She was not human, not fully, not in the sense anyone could articulate. She existed in the space between law and earth, prayer and sin, life and the inevitable return to soil. Every ounce of gold, she claimed, carried a story, a life, a sacrifice, a hum beneath its surface. And the town watched. Men who might have challenged her presence found their hands cold when they reached for coin. The earth hummed, the gold sang. And Nell, silent, unblinking, smiled faintly, always faintly, as though she alone understood the balance of everything. On Easter Sunday, 1854, Father Amos ascended the pulpit to speak of sin, of extraction, of the bones of the earth. He told the congregation, "Every vein you rip from the soil is a mother you wound, a life you take, a memory you fracture." The pews creaked under the weight of unease. He spoke of the land as flesh, of gold as bone, of the inevitable judgment awaiting those who dig without humility. Nell stood, a single figure among the rows of trembling bodies. When the final hymn rose, she did not kneel. She did not close her eyes. She sang alone, in a harmony none recognized, a voice weaving with the creak of the floorboards, with the hum of the air, with the hidden pulse of the earth. 3. Congregants fainted. The church bell cracked. Silence fell like ash. Father Amos recorded in his diary, in trembling ink, "She is not like us. She sings with the veins of the world, and the world answers." Men who had scoffed at superstition left the church pale, certain of something indefinable, certain that the ground beneath dead mother's cut was alive, listening, waiting. Nell walked out, and the shadows of the congregation stretched unnaturally behind her. From that day forward, the miners whispered, the priests watched, and the children at the orphanage trembled. For they knew, the earth sings differently for her, and it always answers. Years later, after records were scattered, burned, and hidden, investigators would find one surviving ledger page, smudged and charred at the edge. It listed not the ounces of gold extracted, but names crossed in gold ink, each aligned with a surge in production. The ledger did not lie, but it did not explain. The dates of disappearance, of arrival, of death, everything corresponded with the veins Nell had claimed. At the bottom, written with deliberate care, in letters that seemed to shimmer in candlelight, "The earth remembers." Mothers, scholars, and priests alike would attempt to interpret the message, to rationalize it, to erase the uncanny unease. But the page refused their logic. The gold itself, in her hands, had always been a ledger of life and death, of taking and giving, of the unspoken covenant between her and the land. Each crossing out was a ritual, each notation a chant, each figure a heartbeat in the rhythm of the ravine. Miners who had vanished were recorded, not in life, but in the pulse of production. Observers noted that even when the ledger was copied, the ink shifted subtly. Names blurred, dates changed, as if the earth itself corrected the record. This page, a fragment, a memory, a testament, remained, whispering of hidden truths no historian could reconcile. It spoke of inevitability, of cycles older than California itself, of a power that was neither divine nor mortal, but elemental. And those who read it, any who dared, felt their hearts quicken, their pulse stutter, their skin crawl, for the ledger did not merely record, it commanded. White miners despised her. They feared her. They envied her. 40 men labored in her mines, yet none dared challenge her openly. They whispered in taverns, in shadows, in church pews, "She is unnatural. She has stolen what should have been ours." Black communities, however, avoided her entirely. They spoke her name only in reverence, or in hushed fear, for she smelled of chains, of iron, of old prayers carried across oceans and centuries. Her presence was a contradiction, mortal yet impossibly more, free yet enslaved to the covenant she kept with the land. She never denied this. She never offered explanation. She simply existed, and the consequences followed. Men who had once considered themselves masters of soil and gold found their hands cold when they reached for coin. She touched. Judges deferred. Sheriffs bowed. Priests accepted offerings with unease. Her wealth was unassailable, her authority unchallengeable. And yet, every ounce extracted, every ledger entry, every miner hired or lost, whispered a warning. It spoke of hidden balances, of debts unseen, of judgment inevitable. She moved among men, observing, cataloging, shaping outcomes, with the quiet patience of time itself. History, biased and incomplete, sought to erase her. The land remembered. The gold remembered, and those who encountered her, even briefly, carried the memory as a weight, a tremor in the pulse of the world. Silence became the only rational response. To speak her name was to invoke something beyond comprehension. To acknowledge her existence was to tremble. And the earth, patient and unrelenting, waited. November 1855. The shafts of dead mothers cut fell silent, yet the earth trembled with memory. No explosion, no tremor, no warning. The men inside, Dozens of them, white miners, laborers, greedy souls, obedient souls, entered as they had every day, and they did not return. The ground swallowed them, and then sealed itself, smooth, impenetrable, as though the ravine itself had exhaled a final breath and closed its lips. Gold production ceased. The tools lay where they fell. Boots, hats, gloves, shovels, lanterns, scattered across the floors, untouched. Letters disappeared from the sheriff's desk. Entries vanished from the town ledger. The night air carried an almost imperceptible hum, a vibration beneath the feet of those who lingered, a pulse and rhythm with some heartbeat of the soil. Witnesses claimed they heard low murmuring, almost maternal, as if the earth itself remembered the laborers who had gone in and now refused to release them. The church bell rang once. A note shattered, a sound not of this world. Nell Baptiste was seen walking to the edge of the ravine. She did not speak. She did not tremble. She did not look back. The earth responded to her presence as it had always done. Men fled the town, fearing the echoes of what had occurred. Others whispered of a mother beneath the soil, patient, vigilant, taking only what was owed. Dead Mother's Cut became silent, unapproachable, sacred, and damned. The gold lay dormant, veins black, waiting. She attended church one final time. She offered every ounce of her gold, every nugget, every refined dust, every weight of iron, vain, and the congregation murmured at her presence. No words passed her lips. No prayers were uttered. She walked toward Dead Mother's Cut at dusk, solitary, unhurried, carrying the inevitability of centuries in her gaze. Witnesses claimed. The ground opened beneath her steps, softened as though for a single being, and then closed, erasing any trace of passage. She did not look back. The hills were quiet. The wind held its breath. Birds fell silent in the twilight. The orphanage matron later swore she saw her shadow pass across the valley, though no figure followed. Miners whispered that the earth itself swallowed her, that she became part of the veins of gold she mined, that she existed in the marrow of the land, and the town dared not question it. Some said that she walked beneath the soil still, that she travels along veins of metal and stone, watching, waiting, cataloging. Others claimed that she dissolved into the rivers, into the veins of those who vanished, leaving only a trace in the pulse of the land. Providence Hill, as Dead Mother's Cut would later be called, became a place of quiet dread, a boundary between the world above and the world beneath. A place no one dared cross, lest the mother below demand payment once more. Her final steps were unrecorded, unphotographed, yet they marked the earth forever, as if the ground itself bowed before her passage. Within weeks, the town undertook a careful, fearful cleansing. Records burned, ledgers shredded, letters vanished. The orphanage relocated, though the children never spoke of why. The church was rebuilt, bells replaced, windows resealed, but the crack in the original bell remained a secret, hidden in fear of revealing what had occurred. Dead Mother's Cut was renamed Providence Hill, in attempt to cleanse it of its history, to impose order, to rewrite the story. The town council declared silence, enforced by intimidation, by unspoken fear, by the memory of those who had vanished. Priests refused to discuss it, and if questioned, only shook their heads. Miners who remained refused even to step near the ravine. The earth itself seemed patient, waiting, murmuring beneath the surface, listening. The ledger, the names, the miners, the children, the vanished everything, erased from official history. Yet, whispers persisted in hidden corners. Women who lived nearby claimed shadows moved beneath the hills. Men who survived the mines felt the soil hum beneath their boots. The wind carried faint lullabies of children long gone. And Nell, though gone, was everywhere. In the hum of gold veins, in the shiver of leaves, in the subtle tremor beneath stone. The purge succeeded in erasing the record, in controlling memory, but it failed to erase what the earth remembered. The land kept account. Providence Hill waited. Its memory grew dense, patient, unrelenting. Those who dared speak of her were hushed. Those who tried to uncover the truth disappeared into rumor. The town survived, but only as a careful whisper, as a fragile promise to the earth itself. We will not disturb what sleeps beneath. Gold from Nell's claims never settled into ordinary existence. Coins warped, jewelry cracked, fillings in teeth caused dreams of veins of black metal winding beneath skin. Some pieces sang faintly when the wind stirred. Survivors reported nightmares. Visions of miners crawling through tunnels lined with veins that seemed to breathe. Children in orphanages would wake screaming, pointing at nothing, claiming to see shadows walking among gold. The church tried to melt some of the donations, recast bells, strike plates, redistribute wealth. The metals resisted. Coins twisted, as if alive. Gold dust shifted beneath fingers. It hummed, whispered, pulsed. Priests wrote in diaries that they felt watched, that the metal remembered, that the earth itself demanded remembrance. Families hoarded pieces, then buried them, only to find them again inexplicably on mantles, in drawers, beneath floorboards. The gold became a ledger of human attention, a record not in ink but in material memory. It carried the weight of lives taken, of laborers vanished, of children lost, of promises whispered and broken. Each nugget became a witness, each coin a silent observer. And somewhere beneath the surface, the mother below waited, patient, insatiable, recording every misstep, every glance, every theft of her precious vein. The gold would not obey human rules. It would not conform to markets, to banks, to commerce. It was alive in its own right, tethered to her, tethered to the earth, tethered to the cycles of life and death that she orchestrated with quiet inevitability. To touch it, without understanding, was to invite tremor, to invite memory, to invite the unseen to answer. In 1931. During Prohibition, a road crew excavating Providence Hill unearthed black-veined gold, a vein as dark as the stories whispered. Over generations, the foreman reported hearing singing beneath the soil unbroken, maternal a lullaby for children and men alike. Tools trembled in hands, picks weighed heavy, lanterns flickered, watchers fled the site. Some claimed they saw shadows moving beneath their feet, moving with purpose, bending toward them, observing. Engineers dismissed these claims, attributed them to stress, to superstition, to the fever of labor in the Sierra Nevada sun. Yet the gold could not be moved. It resisted extraction, shifting in shafts, melting into rock, disappearing in pockets, only to reappear where it had been untouched. Town elders warned of the mother below, patient, vigilant, exacting her due. The church refused to bless the site. The government forbade further excavation. Legends passed into hushed conversation. Minor spirits trapped in the veins. Children carried into tunnels. Nell Baptiste herself still walking among the earth's veins, recording, observing. Providence Hill became untouchable. Those who dared speak of it later claimed strange dreams, cold hands pressing against their backs, whispers urging silence, visions of gold veins running beneath every street, beneath every house, beneath the memory of the town. The past had not ended. The earth remembered. Nell, the mother below, the gold itself, still active, still alive, still waiting, patient and infinite, indifferent to men, their laws, their commerce, their prayers. And so Providence Hill remained a place unexcavated, untouched, feared, silent, but alive. The Miwok spoke of her long before the white settlers arrived. They called her the mother below, the one who trades protection for remembrance. They spoke in whispers to their children, in songs that trembled like leaves in wind, in stories carried along rivers and valleys. She takes children, she takes minors, she takes those who trespass with greed in their hearts, and she gives wealth but at a price no man can calculate, no priest can absolve. The earth itself remembers her bargains, records each exchange in veins of rock, in the pulse beneath the soil, in the black-veined gold that refuses to lie. The Miwok fled dead mothers, cut generations before, leaving only warnings etched into the land. Do not dig, do not pry, do not call her by name. She is patient, she is eternal. She listens to the cries of men, the murmurs of priests, the prayers of children, and she remembers. When Nell Baptiste arrived, she understood immediately. The ground hummed beneath her, veins of gold pulsed with recognition. The mother below had chosen her. Not by accident, not by chance, but by covenant. The Miwok knew that she would not only extract gold, but that she would speak with the land, negotiate with its shadows, and command its obedience. The miners, the church, the town, they did not know. They never could. Only the earth and the mother below, and Nell, knew the terms of the bargain and the ledger of life and death that would follow. The Miwok warned, do not awaken what you do not understand. And yet, Nell walked willingly into it. Some say she was born during a slave ship burial at sea. Some say her mother whispered bargains into her ear as she died. Bargains older than the mountains, older than rivers, older than chains. Some say Nell did not mind, gold she fed it. She fed the veins, the soil, the mother below itself. From her earliest days, she carried an understanding no human could articulate. A connection to the pulse of the world, the hum beneath the ground, the memory of every life ever lost in the pursuit of wealth. She walked among men, observing greed, cataloging sin, balancing debts, invisible to mortal eyes. The earth obeyed her, the gold answered her, miners vanished, children disappeared, records were erased. And through it all, she moved with quiet inevitability, unhurried, unafraid, patient as stone. Her hands did not tremble, her eyes did not waver. The covenant with the mother below demanded respect, and she gave it. In her presence, men felt the weight of their mortality, the accountability of every trespass. The inevitability of life and death entwined in mineral veins. She did not speak of her purpose. She did not justify her methods. She only existed, and the consequences followed. The mother below listened. The earth recorded. And in every vein she touched, in every ounce she claimed, in every life she accounted for, she carried the legacy of her mother's whispered bargain, a bargain written in blood, soil, and gold. Asterisk, every ounce extracted carried a life. Not immediately, not necessarily today, but eventually. Minors disappeared. Children vanished. The ledger counted. The ground remembered. Gold did not forgive. Gold did not lie. It bore witness. Those who touched it lightly, carelessly, arrogantly, those who believed in themselves, masters of earth and stone, found their names scratched into invisible ledgers. Debt was recorded in veins, in pulses, in dreams. The town whispered of cursed miners, of broken families, of lullabies sung beneath the soil. The mother below was patient. She does not rush. She waits. She observes. She exacts payment with precision, with inevitability, and Nell, chosen conduit, understood this. She did not fear the debt. She balanced it. She distributed it. She cataloged it. Every life taken became an entry in her silent ledger. Every ounce of gold, a witness to accountability. Every disappearance, a note in the rhythm of the ravine. The town could not comprehend it. Priests could not absolve it. Miners could not challenge it. And yet the world continued, fragile, tentative, trembling, aware that beneath the surface, beneath Providence Hill, beneath what men could measure and touch, the mother below waited, patient, insatiable, recording, and those who dared to question, who dared to covet, who dared to mine greedily, became part of the cycle. Every ounce demanded a price. Every shadow bore a witness. Every gold vein remembered. Asterisk? Asterisk, because California was built on screams. Because men wanted wealth, yet feared its source. Because history cannot record the inconvenient truth without unraveling itself. Every ledger, every payroll, every census, every church record was altered, burned, hidden, names were redacted, events erased. The town performed its purge with meticulous care, removing all evidence of Nell Baptiste, of dead mothers cut, of missing minors, of vanished children. Priests were complicit, though terrified. Officials were complicit, though uncertain. Gold flowed, wealth accumulated, and the veneer of civilization was preserved, but beneath it, the earth remembered. Every mina who vanished remained in the veins of the soil. Every child disappeared was accounted for in the pulse beneath the ravine. Every ounce of gold taken carried memory. Men whispered about it. The town enforced silence. The ledger, incomplete and partially burned, remained a warning to those who dared to ask too many questions. California's foundation eats wealth, its towns, its rivers was built on this unspoken covenant. The mother Bala watched. The earth recorded. History became fiction. Those who controlled memory controlled power. And the gold, veins black, and alive, hummed. It remembered. It waited. The mother below was patient. The earth demanded reckoning, whether humans acknowledged it or not. And Nell, who understood the balance, who honored the covenant, who fed the veins in the earth, remained untouchable. Her legacy, invisible, yet eternal. Asterisk, a sealed letter, dated 1899, from the Vatican, references the incident only as the Black Benefactress. It warns, silence, oblivion, no discussion, no inquiry. The Church acknowledges, in careful, cold language, that an event occurred, an event involving gold, wealth vanished, men, vanished children, and a woman untouched by human law. But the letter commands the erasure of all memory, the destruction of all records, the control of narrative. It is not justification. It is a warning. The priests who had witnessed Nell, who had watched her feed the veins, who had seen the mother below in action, had left the records carefully hidden, then burned them. The Church accepted her gold, her donations, her wealth, while fearing, profoundly, what it represented. Gold, veined, black, and alive, deposited in their vaults, hummed with memory, pulsed with accountability, and carried secrets no mortal mind could bear. The letter implies understanding, yet fear dominates every line. She is not to be spoken of. She is not to be named. She is not to be remembered. It is both confession and curse. And even as the Church sought to impose order, to contain, to rationalize, to control, the mother below listened. The earth did not obey their authority. The gold did not forgive them. Nell's legacy are choices, her bargain, her untouchable, eternal, beyond their comprehension, recorded in veins, pulses, hums, and shadows.